We're live. Bishop. Bishop. Bishop, you are muted. Good. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Am I good now?
There we go.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to see that I have somebody who's efficient enough to keep me straight. I thank you, Ms. Dyer, for helping me to get in line. I'm thankful for everyone who's on with us today. We have several individuals who are on with us today. We have from the babies to the full grown individuals with us today. And we're going to let our visionaries not there. I'm going to let our visionary do the introductions to our guests today. So, Ms. Dyer, can you take that opportunity to introduce all of our guests who are on with us today?
Well, hello. And as we get started, before we even get started here today, let me first say welcome. We're excited to be here with you for another week. Yes, most definitely we are. And, we're definitely excited to be here for another week as we broadcast Hidden in Plain Sight, be your own bank. And so if you're logging on today, first, let me tell Bishop, thank you so much. And I just want to thank each and every last one of you out there listening. So make sure you share this on your social media. You want to share this because today we are talking about something that is going to impact you and your family. And so, yes, we do have some guests with us as well as our normal, who is myself, of course, Bishop, you already heard from, our visionary, Mr. Gerald D. Rogers, and the finance doctor, Dr. Craig Bythewood. But we have Miss Deja Dyer, 6 years old, right here. Say hello. And then, of course, we have Dion, and so Dion Sanders, and so he's there with his mother, Miss Danielle Clayton, and of course, my son, Marquis Smith, he'll be joining us. He's testing, so he's dual. He'll be joining us here in just a moment. And of course, we have Miss Elizabeth Brownlee. You always hear her on our morning calls, closing out in prayer. So I'm excited to definitely have all of them here with us today. So share.
Yeah, share. Well, I'm excited to have everyone. And we're today having a discussion about something I think is very important to everyone, especially those of us who are parents and grandparents. And that is from Proverbs. Today, our scripture. Ms. Dyer, you have our scripture for today?
Yes, of course I do. And
okay, we'll go ahead and read that for us.
Proverbs 13:21. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous.
Amen. And so a good man is a positive, happy man, a man who trusts God. And as a result of him trusting God and how he envisions God being in his life, he leaves a heritage for his grandchildren. Isn't that exciting? Now, as we look at that passage, it talks about prosperity, and prosperity is not always necessarily cash, but in our case today, we want to talk about leaving our children some cash, or at least some knowledge of how to get cash. Because one of the things that has been in my discussion much this year with pastors all over the country is how we develop a mechanism for plugging our children into the economy. Even after we teach them, we send them to college, we send them to school to learn, and then when they get that piece of paper in their hand, that's all they have is a cap and a gown and a piece of paper. They really don't understand how to plug in to this economy, and we need to put some vehicles in place before we leave here that helps them to be able to plug in if they would work the system. And so we're thankful for each and everyone who's on here today, especially these young folk, because we've been able to do what we do in front of them, and they know how to plug into the trading system. And so train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he shall not depart from it. There's another passage we find in Proverbs. It's talking about taking the time to teach our children, not just to let them grow up and eat some cereal and sit in the corner and let their peers teach them. Because when we think about the developmental tasks, children, when they become adolescents, what their peers think is more important to them than what we say or think. And then when they get past adolescence in the next stage, they begin to pair off with other folk who are their age. And that individual has more influence on them than we do. And so we have to take advantage of the development task and understand the stages that they go through in their development so we can plug in. And so Deja is the perfect age to make this impression on her that she can carry it with her the rest of her life. Children are like wet cement. While it's new, you can mold it, shape it in anything you want. But once it gets old and hard, like me, it's hard to try to bend and shape old dude like me. And so, what's funny, Dr. Rogers? And so you hadn't hit me while I was wet, and so, we have to take advantage of the opportunity while they're young. The heritage that we want to leave with them is the opportunity to mold them. And I'm excited about those who are on today. And I don't know exactly how we want to do this, but I'm going to follow the lead of our visionary as he leads us into this discussion with our guests.
Well, Bishop, I think really what you've already laid the foundation, and what I envision how this conversation unfolding is your words are just apropos at this moment, because we're talking about laying a foundation, train up a child, right? And obviously, Proverbs speaks about, a good man shall leave an inheritance to his children's children. But as you so eloquently said, we need to be more engaged in conversations that teach our children how to plug in. And when they come to that age of understanding, like you said, many of us, we had to experiment on how to figure out how money works, and we've evolved to where we are right now. But I'm just so excited to know what it would be like if we would have these conversations when we have, as I mean, you were right on point. We're in the development stages. I mean, even in the Hebrew culture, they began to put honey on the word of God, so that when as the kids would become acclimated to the taste of it, so when they got older, they would yearn for it because they were familiar with that taste in the very beginning. And so we just want an opportunity to kind of hear from some testimonies from we have individuals as young as 6 and as mature as 84 years young. And so we definitely are in a position where just the life experiences of how we can really understand how different our communities would be if we really took the same energy, just as we've been assigned to give biblical impartation. What if we would take the same aspect and make sure that we understand and teach our children how money works? How different would our communities look like? How different would our prison system shrink? Because now everyone is equipped and armed with the right information. So that's kind of how, and how I want this conversation to go, and I definitely want you to lead it. But that's kind of the whole landscape. So we have individuals who are beginning to walk into their life, and for us who've experienced life, and how different our lives would have been had we had this type of forum in the very beginning of our inception.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, and we appreciate that. And so, why don't we start with the youngest and work our way up to the more mature? Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. You right on point, Bishop. Right on point.
Miss Dyer, Deja would be the youngest, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. What's been your experience with Deja, that you up at 5 every morning, making sure we all focus in on what the market's going to look like? You're on again at 2, then on again, helping people to get introduced to the process. Throughout the day, you're on the phone talking with people, and you're on again at a couple of times at night. How's that impacted her?
Well, I can tell you one thing is that the fact that I'm home. Let's start there. As I stated,
Mhm.
my son is here as well, and I have an older daughter that's 25. And a lot of the things that I was not able to do with them, of course, being a mother, deploying in the military. And so I'm home. We had a conversation before because she has asked me about being on the phone and, those things. And so when she brought that up, I asked her, well, what would it be like for you if mommy was gone at work all day and you would only see me for 2 or 3 hours a day? Because she mentioned, she's like, well, you're on the phone. You talk on the phone a lot. And I'm like, well, how would it be for you if I was gone? If I had to get you up in the morning, drop you off, and you didn't see me again until the evening, only for a few hours. And for her, it was definitely a shift because what she stated was, oh no, keep trading, keep making those phone calls. Would rather have me here. And actually, she's always a part of it. So she's here, sitting in my lap right now. But one of the things, she just asked me, we have a women's call on Wednesday. And she literally just asked me, she said, well, I'm a BYOB wealthy woman. Could I do Wednesday call too? Right as we were gearing up for this. So she's included. She's not excluded. That's what I'm really getting at. And so what I love about it is that whole shift in mindset is we were actually watching HGTV this weekend, and the guy's profession, they always ask you, what are you doing? What's going on? So the guy's profession, he traded foreign currency. And she's the one that picked up on it. She noticed it before I did. Oh mom, he does what you do. So for her to be able to pick up on that, I rewinded it and I saw it. I was like, oh wow, yes. So that's what he's doing, and he's out buying homes, and that's what he does. And they kind of highlighted that on the show as well, for that whole shift because of what it is. And that never really happens when you're watching those house hunting shows. And so it's really kind of shifted the narrative. So she's included, not excluded. And so I really feel good because I'm able to be home. I have her and my granddaughter all the time. So, even with COVID and everything that's transpired, we're here. We haven't missed a beat.
Wow, well, and does she participate in trading, or she just understand the language right now? What is she doing?
Bishop Robinson, may I interject, please?
Yes, sir.
It's such a strong principle of out of the mouth of babes. And I think
Uh-huh.
we could ask Deja a question and hear something in her own voice.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Go ahead.
So Deja, let me ask you, this is Dr. B. How you doing? You're my favorite. So Deja, I'd like to ask you a question. How do you feel about the fact that your mommy is so talented that she can do her 9 a.m. call, but also help you with Zoom? How does that make you feel?
Great. It makes me feel great.
I'm sure it does make you feel great. So when you grow up, Deja, do you want to be a trader?
Yeah.
Why do you want to be a trader, Deja?
And then I can be a doctor when I grow up.
Love it. Love it. Let's go ahead and be that trading doctor. Thank you.
Mhm. And that's definitely like God told us the Israelites to write it on the doorpost, put it on in the street, put it everywhere so they can see it. She can see it everywhere when she see mommy trading, and that's wonderful. And we want to commend Miss Dara because she's not only a great mother, a great teacher, but she is a great first grade teacher, and Deja made great grades. So we just want to. She's just a woman of many talents and gifts. Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, and when I think about it, I'm just thinking about me and as one of the more mature persons that you talked about, we've had some life experiences. Just the fact that what what was I thinking about at age 6? You know, I was and had my GI Joes and you know my Mattel football, the electric football, because that was the part of my programming. That was the visuals that I saw. But I mean, wow, I'm just in awe of the fact that when we talk about leaving generational wealth or generational information, it now puts us in a position where I just think about the totality of it is now 2021, how the income gap has widened in different ethnic backgrounds because of the lack of the proper information, and being able now to take the pen and the paper and arm people and put the power in their hands that they can create their own value because of this skill set. I mean, it just warms my heart to know that this is truly, I believe, an opportunity for us as the leaders of this movement to truly live up our biblical creed, and you know, each one teach one, and lifting up our brothers out of the state of poverty from an information standpoint, the state of poverty from an execution standpoint, because you know, our purpose today for all of our listeners is to help you understand that, you know, as Jesus would say, suffer not the little children to come unto me. And coming to Jesus, in order for you to understand this information, you got to have that childlike faith. And if you're open to information, all of us have the capacity to learn new information, even those who are rigid and who've got a little bit more solid in their ways. It may take a little bit more positioning, but as long as our mind gives us the capacity, then all of us can absorb this information and really adopt and embrace the ideology of being your own bank. Because ultimately, you know, we get an opportunity to expand the horizons, and even as Deja said, you know, to be a doctor, you know, this is the way that she can put herself in a position where she can fund that and not and enjoy that profession and not come out of that experience debt laden. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I thought about Deja the other day. I think it was Saturday. I was watching an interview of the president of the University of Maryland, Baltimore, and he was talking about one of their graduates is actually one of the lead scientists on the invention of the virus vaccine. And she was a young black lady, 34 years old. I said, "Wow, nobody else, you don't see that on the news down here that often about someone being an African American and having that kind of skill and talent and being so young. You're so proud when you hear that." And I'm thinking twice, Miss Dyer, about taking the vaccine. Now I think it might be safe since she made it, but I'm still trying to see how it's going to react on other folk. And I'm going to be so getting in line so I can get back out and involved with the church more. So I'm excited about Miss Danielle Clayton's son. Now, this young man is an adolescent, more or less. How old are you, young man?
I'm 11. I don't know how to
11,
speak up. I'm
11
11 and I'm about
11
to be
years
12
old.
this year.
You gonna be 12 this year?
Yes,
I
sir.
remember,
In May.
when I was 12, was the kind of stuff I was getting in. And you know, when I was a youth pastor, I always told the parents that you can't pick your children's friends, but you sure can pick the environment that they're in and the environment that influences them. And I was excited one morning. I was trying to find a right trading pair, and I looked up, and this dude had made $1,100. I said, "What?" And so, how did you get involved with trading? What were you motivated by?
Uh, Speak up. Alrighty, so what had Alright, so what had motivated me was the fact that she was trading in April, way before I had started. And plus, I had heard about the absurd amount of money and also the amount of people you can empower through trading. So one day in November or October, I just came to her and asked if she could like teach me how to trade. And then right after that, everything changed.
Well, I heard a lot of older people say, "Well, I can't learn that stuff. That's too much for me." how did you pick up on the trading? What did you do?
Alrighty, so at first I found out a lot about the vibrato, aka IML web analyzer. Then she told me what buy and sell, the best time to enter trades. Always use the 5 minute because it moves the fastest, and also the 1 minute. Plus also to download MetaTrader and also Telegram to join the BYOB group and plenty more stuff. And
So basically,
and also the academy.
So you basically went through the academy and learned the language, because you're speaking a lot of the terminology that most of your friends wouldn't understand, right?
Correct.
And so you want to get the vocabulary down. I remember when Mr. Rogers was talking to me about pips, I said, "What in the world is a pip? What is that?" And I tried to get him to explain it to me. He tried to explain, and it's just so the vocabulary is necessary to get the vocabulary, right? That's sort of like what you do every week in school. You get new vocabulary words, right? And you learn those words. Yeah. And so your first trade, how did you do it?
My first trade, hold on, let me.
You don't know, just tell me.
Alright, so my first trade back in like November the 1st. My first trade, it was not that bad at all. Well, considering that, like, pretty much just
Stay in
like.
the camera now. Stay in the camera. There you go.
Alrighty, so my first trade wasn't that bad. Back in November when I began my first trade, I had first got some money deposited into the account, and the stop loss. I'm what's his name? Where are you? Oh, the lot size. The lot size at first was set to 1 cent, and I had traded, waited for a while, and then I had gotten $10.
How did you feel?
It feels great.
Huh?
It felt great.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting tens of thousands of dollars.
Now you're getting what now?
Tens and thousands of dollars.
You're
One
making
time out of.
Good God Almighty. I'm getting ready to say, you're going to run around this table in a minute, boy.
Yeah.
Bishop, I need to clarify.
Okay.
So some of that is in demo, but the fact that he takes it upon himself to understand how to adjust his lot size, he's able to see how he can place himself in a position to have larger profits. And he actually motivated me to increase my lot sizes. And here I am, a grown adult, but I have my 11-year-old that's beating me to it. So, you know, a lot of those larger sums and what he's speaking of, that is in his demo account. However, he does also have a live trading account in which we do practice proper risk management.
Okay,
so
now
mommy, let him be great, because demo is the real market. So don't steal his thunder. Let him be great. That is the market.
That's where I was headed, Ms. Dara. I was headed to the point of somebody explaining the difference between the live account and a demo account, because we're assuming there are folks watching us who haven't traded before.
Okay, so the live account is when you put money in the market, and that demo account is that practice account, but it's still the real market. And so for him to be 11 and be able to navigate that, and for him to be 11 to be able to navigate that and to truly understand how to make those adjustments, that's real profit. He just cannot withdraw it. So let him be great, because he's doing a great job.
Good job, son.
Bishop,
Really
may I
great.
please comment?
Yes.
So I have two responses. First, the 11-year-old just used the word empower. I'm just saying. Second point, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. So I'm going to share an anecdote for our listening audience, which I think really puts into perspective where we are right now. So Miss Clayton and I had an offline conversation about her sons and her wanting to walk in excellence and make sure she was providing the best guidance with them during e-learning. And this young man that we just heard from was having a little bit of an issue with e-learning and math. Now, first of all, let's keep it real. E-learning is probably the worst modality to learn math. But bottom line, as you can tell, this is a child of excellence. This is a child who wants to do well. So he was feeling some type of way at the mechanism of being able to do what he needed to do in his math class. Now, just for the record, for our listening audience, I have been an academician for almost 30 years. I work and I'm trained in the area of educating others. What does it say about how we are about to move in this Be Your Own Bank movement in the way in which we're going to educate our children moving forward? That the traditional way of doing it in dealing with numbers causes the young man anxiety. But now he is eloquently describing lot sizes and thousands of dollars. It's the same kid, it's the same brain, it's just a different infrastructure. So when I hear things like this, and when I make this connection, it literally gives me goosebumps, because what we're doing is we're changing the game. Like Miss Dyer said, let him be a superstar. Well, we change the game so that his true talent can come out and he can be that superstar.
Amen. Amen. That's a good word, Dr. B. That's a great word. Now, we have a different guest who joined in with us. Ms. Dyer, who is that? Who's that good-looking young man that's in your chair?
That is my son, Marquis Smith.
Hey,
Marquis, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Tell us about yourself, Marquis.
Like she just said, I'm 20 years old. I'm currently in school right now. I'm taking classes at FSCJ, but I was at a JUCO up north, which is a football, like it's like a football school. For y'all don't know what a JUCO is. And COVID really like messed some things up with that, because our season had got canceled. So came back home because, you know, school got canceled and everything, and I needed something to do besides football and just football and training and stuff. And that was kind of my out, was trading and stuff.
Wow, how did you become interested in trading? Was it just something to do, or you watching your mom, or what was happening with it?
Well, at first, she had introduced it to me like a year or so ago, but it really was one of those things where I was in school, I was like in high school, whatever, I just looked at it and like kind of brushed it off. And then I say when all of this like COVID stuff kicked off, and I just see how like a lot of people are just losing their jobs, struggling to, you know, take care of themselves right now, and everything could just happen like that. Everything could just switch and your companies can close and everything like that. I just figured that you have to be able to have a source of income that isn't reliant, isn't dependent upon somebody else. And that's when I started taking trading a little more serious.
Yeah, I understand that you don't think that you might want to go to work in any kind of industry or anything like that. You don't want to hit a 9 to 5 or hit the clock. Are you interested in that once you graduate? No.
I tell my mom this all the time. The only person I write to have their name on my check would be an NFL team.
Okay, and you know, Dr. B can tell you we talked about a little bit about that last week, about the NFL checks and really understanding what you have and how to maintain it and hold on to it and get the best out of that. Because a lot of young guys don't know about trading. They don't really know how to take that money and let it make money for them. Most of them are, you know, NFL career is what, 4 or 5 years on average. Yeah, and then so you make that big check for 4 or 5 years, and then you want to ride real good. So guys drive around these Maybanks and sports cars, and they spend up all that money before they retire, and they hope they get a retirement check. You have to do it 7 years to get a retirement check, I understand. So Dr. Byford probably can share more light on that than I can, because he actually was the one who gave instruction to young NFL players. And so, you know, that's a lofty goal. That's wonderful, and we hope that certainly happens, because I want some free tickets when you get that NFL contract. But that's good. But do you see yourself in the long term being a trader professionally?
Oh yes, sir, definitely. Actually, it's the majority of the time that I do now is I'm either at the gym or something, or I'm like online studying and just trying to like get this down pat.
That's great. That's really good. Anything you want to share with the other adolescents who are watching you about trading?
Uh, I ain't really got nothing to share, but it can come. You just gotta just gotta be patient. Just gotta study and put the time in. You'll get out what you put in.
That's
So
great.
I got a question for Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, at 20, with the information you have now, tell me your thought process of the old way that we were taught, working for someone for 20 or 30 years. Tell me how exciting is that proposition versus learning this skill set?
Well, I wouldn't want to do that at all. My whole thing with that is I'm a big person on time, and you can make money doing really anything, but you'll never be able to get that time back that you spend at a job or 40 hours a week doing this and doing that and being somewhere when somebody tell you to be there and you can't leave until they tell you that you can leave, rather than you learn a skill set like this. And I can control my time. If I don't feel like getting up to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I don't have to get up to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I can do whatever I want to do when I feel like I want to do it. And that's the thing that really turns me on about like trading and stuff. You just control your time, control your life.
How important is that to you at this young gestation period in your life at 20? Because that's a powerful statement that you've come to that understanding that your time, owning your own time is more important.
That's very important. It's very important. Just I can't get my time back. So just don't waste my time. I can't get my time back.
Pretty powerful, pretty powerful. Anything you want to add, Dr. Bythewood?
I want to add something while we wait on Dr. B. He has not asked me for anything since he has taken trading seriously. He creates his own. So he says it's time, he's serious. He does not ask me for a thing. So that's a proud mommy moment right there.
How does that make you feel? That you've equipped him to fend for himself?
That's powerful. I'm excited about that, because to know that you've empowered your child and for them to be able to walk out, when he walks out of my home, he will be able to take care of himself. And when the time comes for him to have a family, he'll be able to do that on his own. So it's just a really proud moment as a parent.
I was moving a little too slow with the mute button. Thank you. Listen, my only commentary to this is, young man, I am extremely impressed with you. But you need to recognize just how much of an ambassador you can be for your age group. Your age group needs to hear your story. They need to hear you say it with the eloquence and passion in which you're saying it, because lives can be changed by what you have decided and realized at such an early age.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true, especially we see a lot of our young black males who, for one reason or the other, trying to make money, try to find ways to make money. Many times it's negative, what they decide to do, and they can make more money than they make standing on the street corner if they would learn this skill. And so you're right, Dr. Bythewood. This certainly needs to be. We need to go on a crusade, sharing this information, and Marquis being the point man for putting this information out there. Of course, he speaks their language, and that's wonderful. And so we thank you, Marquis, for sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we have Miss Elizabeth Brownlee. Sometimes you talk to people and they say, well, If I had known this 30 years ago, I'd be all right. My mind is this, my mind's not this, I can't do this. Miss Brownlee, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Bishop. How are you?
What would you like to share with your peers?
Well, after hearing all these young people, I am, first of all, guarding against turning green with envy. I just, as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, oh my God, what would it have been like had I had the opportunity that they have now? And I was just thinking back, this is a little comical, the conversations that my mother and I had about money, not to take anything away from her because she was a good mother and she loved me. But what you can't teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you don't go, and you cannot reap what you don't sow. So I don't take anything away from her. But our conversations were this: what do you kids think I'm doing? Chewing green paper and making money? She said that all the time we were growing up. The other thing she would say to us, I got to hurry up and spend this money before it burns a hole in my pocket. Because my dad died when I was 7.5, and she raised 4 of us by herself. She did an excellent job. She was ill herself. And so she raised us on aid for dependent children. The check came on the 10th of the month. And she would sleep on it one night because she said I had to have money one night. And I say all that to say that I am so grateful for Miss Dyer and her teaching Deja the way she does, and her son Marquis. Miss Clayton, I admire you and your son so much. And I am so grateful to Mr. Rogers and Dr. Bythewood for the privilege. Here I am, 84 years young, and I say young, and I want you to know, Bishop, that I'm like cement. I'm still soft as cement and pliable in the hand of God. And that's why I'm on this line right now, because I'm learning I'm not going to let these babies outrun me. Where the book of God says, I was raised on the King James, and I love the King James Version, but running second best, I like the Message. And this is what the Message says. The Message says, a good life gets passed on to the grandchildren. Ill-gotten wealth ends up with good people. Well, I want you to know that I've lived long enough not to just have grandchildren to pass it on to, but to have great grandchildren to pass my wealth on to. At 84 years young, I have the privilege to learn what these young folk are talking about. I know about the pips, thank God. I know how to count pips. And I'm so grateful that I'm learning how to compound my trades also. And that I will not just have millionaire status, but I'm going to have billionaire status. And it ain't so much about being a millionaire or billionaire, but it's about who I'm becoming as I become a millionaire and a billionaire. I worked hard for money for 57.5 years, and I retired from 3 careers broke. And when I retired broke, I had to find a way out. And I'm telling you, God is a promise keeper. He has made us some exceeding great and precious promises, and he's keeping every one of those promises. I am an entrepreneur. I know that we need more than one stream of income. And I'm so grateful that even I just learned that recently, that I'm able to not just learn it, but I'm able to execute it. And I'm going to teach it also, because I want to teach some more of these babies. I am so excited about that. And that's a whole nother story about how I've had children. I've been a great granny to so many children over the last 30 years. And now those children I have some, I used to talk all the time when I didn't have anything to talk about. But oh my God, now that I got something to talk about, there is no shutting me up anymore. And I'm so grateful. When I hear the young man talking about, I heard the baby talking about empowering people. You know I'm not going to let him empower people without me empowering people. And I just want you to know that I have been watching you afar off. I'm so delighted to be on this program with you. I just love you. You have been an encouragement. You have been an inspiration to me. And your ears ought to burn all the time because I talk about you all the time. You are doing a wonderful job, and I am so grateful. I can't say enough for the commitment of this team, Miss Dyer, Dr. Bythewood, and Mr. Rogers. They are so committed to our learning and our going to the next step, to going. I don't have words sufficient to thank them enough. Anytime anybody gets up, and I'll tell this on myself, I decided I wasn't getting up at 5 o'clock. I'd come on the 9 o'clock call. And then I thought about it. Who in the world am I to stay in the bed at 5 o'clock in the morning? If Miss Dyer can get up every morning at 5 o'clock, be on the line with us, and then wear so many hats and wear them so well, teaching that baby at the same time and teaching us. And I thought, no way, I'm gonna stay in the bed. I'm up every morning at 5 o'clock, delighted to learn, and I'm yearning to learn. I am just, I'm gonna be quiet, but I am so excited. And Miss Clayton, every time I see your 777, I say, oh girl, I'm gonna catch up with you. I'm coming, watch out. This is the most powerful movement that I've ever been exposed to. And I believe that everybody in the world everybody needs to hear about Be Your Own Bank. When I came into this movement, I thought I was just coming to learn how to trade, but I'm learning how to live the abundant life. Jesus came that we might have life and that we might have it more abundantly. And we were taught that the abundant life was a little food in the fridge and a roof over our head and a little few rags in the closet. Oh, but that ain't the abundant life that Jesus came for us to have. And I'm so grateful that we've been introduced to this abundance. And I'm going to be quiet, Bishop, but I could go on and on and on talking about what God has provided for us. He's made us his exceeding great and precious promises. He's a promise keeper, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'm going to keep hanging out with these young folks so I can stay young and like cement.
Thank you, Miss. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Brownlee.
Let me jump in real quick. I commend you. I salute you. I thank you for your words. You know, part of my motivation, you just said something that a lot of people don't know about. You know, because so many people look at the government, like even with this stimulus and what we're supposed to have and all of those things. And, you know, you said your mother was ill. That's something that I didn't know, but I know my mother was. And I remember her having $643 a month to take care of 3 children. $643 a month. And that's what she was given. And it didn't cover her medication. So she was sick, but it didn't cover her medication. So you tell me how you work your whole life until you can't anymore. And $643 is supposed to pay the rent, buy the groceries, because she made too much money for food stamps. So it's supposed to provide and do all of that. So when I get up, those are the things that push me and motivate me and encourage me. And so that just touched me because that was my life. You know, that was my life. And watching my mother have to decide, do I take my medication or do I pay the rent? You know, going to the store to get, let me get a fourth of my prescription refill as opposed to just going to pick up the bottle. That was our life, you know, wondering what we were going to eat. So anytime anybody's life is going to be changing, I know the babies were nervous on here, but as we're starting this call, I mean, Deja's drawing a BYOB worldwide. And I mean, she's got the little world on here as well. So, I mean, so anytime a shift is happening, like when I see Dion, who can't even apply for a job, you know, he can't even apply for a job, but yet he can profit in the market. And that's why I said, Mama, let him be great. Because if he's making over 25 cents a minute, he's doing better than anybody else for fighting for $15. So he's already on top of it. So they might have been a little nervous on this call. I know Deja was, but she do her Deja D productions all the time about BYOB. But I mean, it's just, I love it. Thank you, Ms. Brownlee. That's all.
Thank you. And we had to survive on less than $643 a month. And there were 4 of us, but my mother could make a penny cry. I mean, she knew how to manage it. I didn't even know we were poor. We were never hungry one time in our life. And when my mother, they were going to cut her off, my mother at ripe age went to school to become a nurse. And she walked several miles every day, I don't care what the weather was, back and forth in order to get an education, and became one of the best nurses at the hospital where she worked. She went back and worked at the hospital where she had been a patient, where my daddy died while both of them were in the hospital together. See, God, people look at you, they have no clue where we've come from, but God brings us out of the fire and we don't even smell like smoke. Isn't that amazing?
My goodness, Ms. Brownlee, that's a word. That is certainly a word. And I want to share with you a word that I got early this morning from a guy, prophet out of New York. He's reminding me that he said, you're entering your ladder, and God said your ladder will be greater than your former. And so you're walking in your ladder right now. That's why you're going to make those millions. So your ladder is greater than your former. And so just say, keep on walking in your ladder, and God's going to keep on throwing abundance into your life. So we're thankful. Mr. Rogers, you have anything you need to say at this point?
I think Dr. Bythewood, I felt the release that he was trying to release something. So
I felt something too. I didn't know if it come from you or him.
That's a good call there, brother. So I have been so patiently awaiting the moment when I get to comment on Miss Brownlee's statements instead of the reverse. So that was such a powerful testimony, Miss Brownlee. And I literally have several people who are experiencing the exact same thing that your mother did. And your words are going to speak life into them. But I have to go back to your original rap. Did y'all hear Miss Brownlee say, you can't teach what you don't know, blah, blah, blah. You can't reap what you don't sow. So she was rhyming.
I caught it.
It was so strong that at the end of her testimony, when she said on and on and on, I was just waiting on her to say, dog. So Miss Brownlee, in all seriousness, just know that we really appreciate who you are, and that your words literally speak life into not only each of us individually, but to our movement. So thank you for being who you are and telling your story.
Thank you, Dr. Bythewood. It's my pleasure.
That's wonderful. Miss Danielle, we haven't heard from you today. You have anything you want to say to your peers about bringing up a child and the way he should go, dealing with that wet cement, the clay?
Yes, sir. You know, I would just like to add to that, Bishop, you know, as Ms. Dyer say, you know, let them be great. You know, I did not force this upon my son. It was something that he saw and he grasped, and he just took it by storm. And what I would like to add to that, you know, so many of us, we like to force, our children, to play basketball or football, take them to Pop Warner and drag them back and forth, because I used to do it when Dion was younger. However, that was not what he wanted to do. And now that he is coming into his own, and this is his passion, is learning. He's a very, very studious young man. And I would just like to add, to parents, let your children come into their own. Everyone's not meant to be a rapper. Everyone's not meant to be, a ball player or so, not knocking any of that, but let your children, let them find out what it is that they want to be. Because Dion now, he has options. And I asked him one day, Dion, what is it that you want to do when you get older? He said, well, now that I've learned this skill set, I want to be able to travel the world, and I want to be able to learn about other cultures. I don't hear 11-year-olds say that. At one point in time, he wanted to be a music producer because he knows how to mix beats. And, he still, does that from time to time, but he is always learning about new endeavors. And he's just a very studious young man. And so, my thing is, parents to just let them grow into themselves.
Wow, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. And then you took the time to expose them to different things. I think that's because you can't really, be involved in stuff you've never been exposed to. And he's had the proper exposure, that positive exposure. I think has had a good influence on him, and he's going to be a great young man. And Dion, I'm looking at one of those Viking cruises down the Nile. You might want to head down there with me. We make us about 10 grand and put on that. We'd be doing great. And so go ahead and make 10 grand, and then we can go down that Nile and look at the pyramids and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff you want to do. You got to have some cash to do that. You got to work hard to play hard. You got to make that money. And so that's always got to be in your mind. You got to do it and do it right. And so we thank you, young man, for sharing with us today and being an example to all of your peers. Anybody else want to share? We got 10 minutes, I think.
I definitely want to just based on what Miss Clayton said, and just to kind of emphasize it, because I'm on the back end of that. Like, my son is 20, and so he's been holding a football since he was 6, 5, right? So I was that Pop Warner parent. I was the one at the football games in high school. I'm the one sitting out there in the stadium. We during the week, you're out there on the weekend and your entire Saturday. I've done all of that, and so you don't encourage them because we think that that's what that's what society teaches us. And so I was that in the box person as well. I was in the military. I've made a decent income, based on where I came from, earning over 6 figures is, you think you've made it, you think you've accomplished, you think that you got there. So I didn't encourage my children to do other things. I didn't encourage them to expand into other things. I was just out there because that's what he wanted to do, and just make sure you get good grades because you're going to college. And so just even based on what you did, and now when I can see that hindsight 2020, because I took a step, and it allowed him to come into his own and see that there was something more. And then he took a step. And that's the same thing that I know that transpired with you. So you do something because you want to do something different for your family. You want to do something different for your children, like leaving a legacy for your children's children. But what ultimately happens is they do what you do, not what you say. And so you see my son, you see your son, you see my daughter. And so they have options, they, like Deja said, she's going to be a doctor, but trading is going to fund it. So they have options because we made a decision for something more for our families. So that's just something that's exciting to me.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
I think I'm just, man, when I think about the caliber of individuals that we've been blessed with, such as the Miss Brownlees and the Claytons and the young minds of the youth. But many of us come from places where culturally we had to start from zero, right? And that's something that we have to completely eradicate out of our culture and out of our communities as well, because what would life have been like had each of us been in a position where we started from the $200,000 or $300,000 mark to be able to make decisions. And sometimes people get ostracized because they'll say well, they didn't work for it. But then there's a conflict in that, because it is our responsibility as parents to leave an inheritance so that the next generation can springboard from our efforts. So I don't want anyone listening, as our listening audience, to feel like that's not the purpose of what we're doing. And me too, I'm an ex-athlete. I was coaching. I thought that was going to be the path. But then I look at a lot of the parents, and listen, parents, I'm talking to you as to help you. It is not our responsibility to push our kids into the athletic prowess and things of that nature so that they can take care of us. No, we have it backwards. We're supposed to be the ones leaving a legacy so that they can build upon. If it happens, great. But let's, as parents, let's be the person that demonstrates. I've always had a desire to be the biggest influence out of the people that I'm connected to. And I really know that's what this heartbeat of the movement is all about. We simply want to be a reflection. We want to be a living epistle in every aspect. And I love what Ms. Brownlee said, the true abundant life. Yes. And to our church colleagues, our clergy members, it is our responsibility to teach the entire gospel. Not only spiritual edification, but we need to be able to put tools in the hands of the people that we're leading, so that they can also too be able to excavate from the land in which they come from. So we want to also be able to teach them how to live in their kingship, and the latter, as you just made mention of, Bishop. So I want to encourage all of our listeners who happen to be leading congregations to open your mind, allow the people to be equipped so that they can operate in that place of greatness. For we have been given the charge to be equippers for the work of ministry so that the entire body can do its particular part.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Now, Ms. Dyer is going to close us out, and she's going to tell us how we can get plugged in to Be Your Own Bank.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for listening in today. We're talking about a legacy. You are supposed to leave a legacy for your children's children. And we definitely have to make that shift and that transition. So be your own bank. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, when we say be your own bank, we mean literally. And when we say, 1 million families financially educated and impacted, and you heard it here today, because that's what this is all about. This is what we're here for. This is what we do. 1 million families financially educated and impacted. And I am definitely so excited to actually be here and a part of this movement. And I love to see the change. See, most of the time when we begin something, you're doing it because you want to see it evolve. You want to see an evolution happen. You want to see it, but sometimes it's so far down the road. But when we look at the change and the evolution and everything that's actually happening, the transformation of our families, the transformation of our legacies, that's what's happening. And so 2020 taught us a lot. 2020 taught us because we asked for that 2020 vision. Now that 2020 vision, what happens when you ask for 2020 vision? You get correction. And so that's what happened. So just like he said, my son said, you need to take what you did learn last year and make that adjustment. And this year is that year of transformation. So our website, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. You want to go there, you want to visit, send us a message, contact us. Let us know you saw us on the broadcast. And I promise we're going to contact you. We'll be back in touch. But also, you can pick up a copy of our book, because this information we've been talking about today has been hidden in plain sight. And so the reviews, the feedback, the life-changing experiences that we've gotten from this, you definitely want to go there and pick it up. But make sure you reach out, because we also have our live stream on there, and we'll be live in the market, the training, making sure you understand it tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, followed by a talk with the finance doctor at 10 p.m. with Dr. Craig Bythewood. So that's myself and Dr. Bythewood and individuals around the world plugging in, learning how to be their own bank. So God bless you all. We're excited. And you know what? I'll see you this evening. And of course, we'll see you back here next week at the exact same time. You all be blessed, and BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. BeYourOwnBankMovement.com.
Thank you.